I'm going to compare your swing to Grant Waite, who was a tour player during the 90s. He and teaching partner Joe Mayo are now instructors of several PGA Tour players. Grant was considered by many of having one of the best swings in golf. I'm going to begin at impact, which is the most important position. Everything the golf ball does, how far it goes, how high it goes, how much it spins and curves, is a direct response to the laws of physics and motion that exist at the moment of impact. The physics and geometry at impact is a response to the club's position at impact. The club's position is a direct response to the body's position at impact. And it's important to understand that impact occurs in only 4 microseconds, which is 1,000 times faster than a blink of an eye. And it is impossible for any human to consciously influence ball flight during this fraction of a second. Therefore, every position prior to impact must be shaped and sequenced in such a way to consistently arrive at a fundamentally sound impact position. The purpose of any swing is to hit the golf ball with the desired ball flight. This can only be done by hitting the ground in the same place, and that place is in front of the golf ball. To achieve this, Grant and all the pros have their hands in front of the golf ball when they make contact. By having their hands in front of the ball, they create a shaft lean. That allows them to hit down into the golf ball and hitting the ball before they hit the ground. This maximizes the transfer of the club speed to the ball so that it maximizes the amount of ball speed coming off the face of the club. The pros also have the majority of their weight on their left side at the moment of impact. As you can see, the red line coming off of Grant's left foot passes right through his belt buckle. Danny, the first thing I'm looking at is the weight distribution between your feet at the moment of impact. This is position 7. Grant on the right, you can see how the red line coming up from his left foot is passing right through his belt buckle. So he has slid his hips aggressively and strongly to the left side. In fact, his left hip is well past his foot. What that allows him to do is to make sure that the low point of his golf swing is in front of the golf ball so that he can hit the ball first before he hits the ground. Here we are in the 1 position. One of the differences that you have in Grant and other pros is that for a full swing with the irons, you need to have a very good athletic stance that gives you a solid foundation to make a strong athletic movement. You can see how Grant has a little wider stance and he flares his feet out a little bit. So we need to make this adjustment. The second thing that we're going to work on a little bit is your position from the knees up, and we'll make just a small modification. You're in a pretty good position right now. I like the fact that your arms are nice and extended here. I like the fact that your shaft has a shaft lean, and then that your hands are in front of the golf ball when you set up. That's very good. That's exactly what Grant is doing. The only thing that is a little bit different is that Grant has his weight, particularly his left hip, is set a little bit more to the left side. So he has about 55% of his weight on his left foot, and you're sitting there pretty balanced, pretty evenly balanced. In fact, I would say that you have a little bit more weight on your right foot. When we look at your hip position here, you can see how your right hip is to the outside of your right foot, whereas it's the opposite for Grant. Grant has his left hip outside the box on the left side. Okay, now we're going to start the backswing. And to begin with, let's look at Grant, and we're going to go from the 1 position to the 3 position. So as Grant goes back, and the 3 position is when the left arm is parallel to the ground. And you'll notice as Grant goes back, he's
swinging around a very stable axis. His head is not moving. He's not leaning to the right. He's rotating around his left side. That left knee, left hip, his back, everything is staying locked on that left side. So his golf circle is very stable. His head in swinging around a stable axis. I like to call this golf swing a stable axis golf swing. This is what all the great players had, and a lot of different people describe this golf swing differently, but I like to focus on the concept that this is a stable axis, a non-moving axis golf swing. As we take you back to the 3 position, we draw the box around you as well. Okay, now as we take you back to the 3 position, where your left arm is parallel to the ground, and you can certainly see how your lower body has really swayed to the right. Particularly your knees have swung to the right, and so working on this 1 to 3 position and changing that, we cannot have you arrive at a fundamentally sound impact position, which is the most important position in the golf swing. We can't shape that position to be a correct shape until we shape this backswing. This video is not going to point out every single missing fundamental in your golf swing. The purpose of this video is to identify 1 or 2 things to work on first to establish a solid foundation to build a good golf swing on. And the first thing we need to work on is your takeaway, your setup and your takeaway. I need to have a very good, solid athletic position to begin with, and then I need to teach you how to move in the backswing with the correct athletic golf swing. Okay, I'm now going to look at your swing from the target line view, and your posture looks pretty good in terms of your spine tilt. The angle here and here looks pretty reasonable. You have a nice little flex in your knees. The only thing that's a little bit different in your setup than Grant is the distance that you set your hands from your legs. That you have that swung out a little bit more than Grant. Grant's hands and arms are hanging more directly underneath his shoulders, and you're kind of lifting them up a little bit. I'm going to take you up to the top of the backswing and point out a couple of things. First, I'll move Grant. So he goes all the way to the top, to right there. I want you to watch his knees. Watch how his left knee is flexing and his right leg is straightening. So when he gets to the top, he has a fairly straight leg here, much straighter than the other knee, and it's much more flexed here. So that's a pretty common position. That allows him to keep his axis stable. He flexes the left leg and straightens the right leg incrementally so that he controls and stabilizes his golf circle. As you go back, I see it and we saw from the face-on view how your left knee would swing to the right, but your right leg really does not straighten at all. So you basically have both legs very flexed. So one of the things that we're going to work on is learning the backswing from going from 1 to 3 and even 1 to 4. This is the 4 position here. Is that you will learn how to use your lower body correctly by flexing the left and straightening the right. Now I'm going to start the downswing and through impact. We'll start with Grant. As he comes down, you'll watch how his lower body turns. You can see how that right elbow is close to the side as he swings his right hip and right elbow almost connected together.
hitting through the ball. And the first thing that we see from this camera angle is the club coming off this side here. We don't see his left arm or his left elbow as he swings through. As you come down, you basically are still sideways. If I take Grant back to impact, I can see both of his back pockets, and you're swinging a little bit sideways right there, so you don't have as much turn into the ball as Grant does. As you come through, your club is here, and I'm already starting to see your elbow here. Grant, as he gets to this position, he's starting to turn, and he's starting to look out there, and you're still looking down here. So one of the things that we'll work on is how to get your hands more to the left side of your body, so they're on this side of your body. Because right now, your hands are still here because the way your finish is upright. Once you learn to turn properly, turn your hips, then you will be able to have that right arm, the hands swing more on the arc, on the follow through. And when you finish, you still have daylight between your knees, and Grant is all closed up here. So once we reshape your follow through, then the downswing, the backswing, and all those will start to connect to each other and have the proper shape and sequencing all the way to the finish. Going forward, we're not going to work on 5 things. We're going to just focus on 1 or 2 things, and I want to work on a very good starting position. I'm going to look again closely at your grip. I want to have a good setup and stance, good athletic position, set a good solid foundation. Then I want to work on that backswing, the initial backswing, the takeaway of the club, where the lower body is moving properly, so that all of those positions are solid. And there's some easy drills that you'll do, and you'll learn that. You'll pick this up very quickly, and it'll make a dynamic difference in your ball striking. In order for you to change your ball flight, in order for you to change your golf score, you have to change the way you move. Learning golf is learning 2 things. One is learning how to swing the club with the proper form, and then it's learning how to hit a golf ball while swinging the club with the proper form. And you kind of have to work on those things and learn those things separately. Now, it's unavoidable not to introduce the golf ball while you're trying to learn the form. But initially, in order to learn the correct form, you have to kind of almost ignore the ball when you're swinging at it and let your mind help you train your body to move in the correct form. So you need to accept the fact that you're going to be in new positions. New positions are always a little bit odd feeling, a little bit uncomfortable. If you do the wrong thing 1,000 times, the wrong thing is going to feel comfortable. But comfort has nothing to do with right or wrong. When you do the right thing, but it's new, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable until you have repeated it enough for your subconscious mind to become familiar with that change, and then it will be much more easily adaptable at a golf ball.